I baked my own birthday cake this morning. Nothing fancy, just a yellow box mix with canned chocolate frosting what my mom used to make when I was little. I even added those same cheap rainbow sprinkles. I told myself it was for fun for nostalgia, but truthfully, I just didn't want the day to pass without something sweet. Today, I turned 22, and just like last year and the year before that, no one from my family said a word. I kept checking the family group chat. Nothing, not even a happy birthday from my dad, not even a thumbs-up emoji from my mom. They always forget, or pretend to, but somehow every year I still hold out for something, a text, a call, a sign that maybe I'm still in there somewhere tucked inside the part of them that remembers I exist. I moved out 2 years ago after finishing community college and enrolling in nursing school. I thought distance would dull the sting of being the afterthought. It didn't. My name is Mallory Dean. I'm the oldest daughter of John and Karen Dean, born and raised in suburban Ohio. I've always been the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who didn't need much. My younger sister Sienna is the opposite. Blonde, charming, always on stage literally and figuratively. She's majoring in media and communications. My parents adore her, and she knows it. I used to think that if I kept being dependable, if I didn't make waves, they'd notice me one day. That maybe I'd earn their love quietly the way people earn trust. But years go by, and all I've earned is silence. At 10 a.m., I stared at my phone for the 10th time. Still no messages, no missed calls. Still, I sent one. Hey, what time are we meeting for dinner? Group chat Dad, Mom Sienna. I waited. 5 minutes, then 10, then 30. Still nothing. Maybe they were planning something. Maybe they just forgot again. Or maybe deep down I knew this birthday would feel exactly like the last. And I just didn't want to admit it yet. By 3 o'clock, my hope had started to crack. Not in a dramatic way. It was more like something slow and familiar, like a wall that had been patched too many times, giving in to the weather. I was folding laundry when I checked my phone again. Still no reply. I stared at the screen until the little gray text bubble disappeared, even though I'd imagined it was never there in the first place. I thought about calling my dad, but he never answers unknown numbers, and mine probably didn't even show up on his favorites anymore. So I called my mom. Karen Dean always picks up. She's the kind of woman who keeps her phone fully charged, cleans the house in the morning, and tells the neighbors how proud she is of her daughters. She's never missed a brunch. But birthdays mine in particular. Somehow those always seem to slip her mind. She answered on the second ring. Hey, sweetie, what's up? Her voice was bright, too bright. That tone she uses when she's walking through Target and doesn't want to seem rushed. I cleared my throat. Hey, I was just wondering. Are we still doing dinner? There was a pause. Not long. Just long enough for the air to shift. Then she let out a soft, ugh, the kind that says, I knew I forgot something, but I'm going to pretend I didn't. Oh, honey, I should have told you earlier, she said. We're going out tonight with Sienna. I blinked. With Sienna. She got invited to a media internship at the local station. Isn't that exciting? So we're taking her out to celebrate. It was kind of last minute. My mouth went dry. It's my birthday. She laughed, not mean. Just dismissive. Oh, don't be so dramatic. We'll do something for you next weekend. This is a big opportunity for her. Try to be happy. Okay. In the background, I heard Sienna's voice, cheerful, careless. Is that Mal? Tell her we'll bring her leftovers? More laughter. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't forgetfulness. They remembered. They just chose her. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. Sure. Have fun, I said, voice even. Then I hung up before she could say anything else. Not because I was angry, but because I refused to let her hear me fall silent. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time after the call. Not crying, not shaking, just still. It wasn't sadness that held me there. It was the weight of being right. Again. Of knowing exactly how this day would go before it began, and still hoping like a fool that this year would be different. My phone was still in my hand. I didn't mean to call anyone. My thumb just moved almost without permission, and Riley's name lit up the screen. Riley was my girlfriend. We'd met 2 years ago in a microbiology class neither of us wanted to take. She sat next to me on the first day, offered me a peppermint, and said I looked like someone who never asked for help even when I needed it. She wasn't wrong. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey, beautiful," she said, then paused. "Wait. What's wrong?" I told her. Not everything just enough. About the call, the tone, the leftovers. She didn't hesitate. "Come over. Now. My parents are making steak tonight. We'll celebrate you the way you deserve." I didn't argue. Riley lived 20 minutes away in a quiet cul-de-sac with her moms, Ellen and Dana, who had been together longer than I'd been alive. They weren't flashy or loud. They were the kind of people who always had tea in the cabinet blankets on the couch and space at the table for one more. When I pulled into their driveway, Riley was already outside waiting. She opened the passenger door before I could even unbuckle. "I'm so glad you came," she said, pressing a kiss to my cheek. Inside, Ellen greeted me with a hug that didn't ask permission. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," she said, taking my coat. "You're just in time." Dinner wasn't extravagant, but it was intentional. Dana had opened a bottle of wine, and Riley had set the table with cloth napkins. Someone had even printed a name card with my name on it, handwritten underlined in gold pen. It wasn't about the food. It was that every part of the evening felt like someone had thought about me. Not out of obligation, just because they cared. After dessert cheesecake, my favorite, Riley handed me my phone. "Take a picture," she said. "You deserve to remember tonight." I snapped a photo of the dining room table, the candles, the empty wine glasses, the little card with my name. Then I posted it. "Huge thank you to the people who showed up for me today. I'm so lucky to have found a real family. No hashtags, no explanation. Just the truth." I didn't expect anyone in my family to see the post. It was late, and they weren't exactly glued to my feed. But less than 40 minutes after I hit share, my phone started buzzing like it had caught fire. First came the text from my mother. "Mom, Mallory. What is this post?" Then from my dad. "Dad, are you serious right now?" Then the calls. 1, 2, 3. I let them ring. I sat on the couch between Riley and Ellen, phone face down on my thigh, pretending not to notice. But inside, something was tightening. Not fear, not guilt. It was something sharper, something I didn't have a name for yet, but it felt a lot like power. On the 4th call, I picked up. "Hi, Mom," I said calmly. Karen Dean's voice hit me like a gust of perfume, pleasant on the surface, suffocating underneath. "What the hell are you doing, Mallory? I'm having dinner," I said, with people who remembered it was my birthday. She gasped like I'd stabbed her. "Don't play games with me. You know what I'm talking about. That post, people are seeing it. Your Aunt Sharon called. Your Uncle Mark. Do you have any idea how this makes us look?" Across the room, Riley stiffened. Ellen gave me a small nod like she could hear everything without needing the words. I held the phone tighter. "I wasn't trying to make anyone look bad," I said. "I just told the truth." "You're blowing this way out of proportion," she snapped. "You know we would have celebrated with you if we didn't already have plans with Sienna. We raised you, Mallory. This is how you repay us." And there it was. Not concern, not apology. Control. My dad's voice suddenly took over the call. His tone low tight. "You need to take that post down. Now." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "No. Mallory." His voice sharpened. "If you don't, there will be consequences." I looked up at Riley, then back at the wall. "Like what?" There was silence. Then muffled voices, my mom whispering something sharp in the background, like she thought she couldn't be heard. Then my dad again. "We're coming over." A pause. Just long enough for me to decide not to panic. "Okay," I said, voice level. "See you soon." I ended the call before either of them could say another word. Riley turned toward me, brows raised. "They're coming here." "Yep." Ellen stood up slowly from the armchair. "Then let them come," she said softly. "They should see what it looks like when love doesn't need to be earned." I looked at the door heart steady for the first time all day. For once, I wasn't afraid of what they'd say. I was ready to let them hear me. The knock wasn't polite. It came hard and fast, 3 sharp bangs followed by a pause, then 2 more. I stood from the couch. Riley gave my hand a squeeze, but didn't say anything. Ellen and Dana were in the kitchen now, quietly giving me space, but not leaving me alone. When I opened the door, my mother stepped in like she owned the house. Karen Dean wore her Sunday face hair, smoothed lips, pressed eyes, already scanning the room like she was assessing damage. My father followed close behind, taller, broader, quieter, but no less angry. His jaw was locked, his fists tight at his sides. "Mallory," she said, "we need to talk. Now." She glanced over my shoulder and saw Riley, then Ellen behind her. I saw the flicker in her face, the calculation, the discomfort. "Not here," she added, voice stiff. "Let's step outside." I didn't move. "If you have something to say, you can say it right here." She blinked. "Mallory, please. Don't make this more difficult than it already is." I crossed my arms. "I'm not the one who made it difficult." My dad stepped forward. "Enough with the attitude." "Attitude," I repeated. "You mean standing up for myself?" My mom sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "We are not going to let you embarrass us like this." Dana stepped just slightly into view at the edge of the hallway. She didn't say anything, just watched. "You've got people asking questions?" my mom continued. "They're calling us, your aunts, your cousins. Do you know how humiliating this is?" I nodded slowly. "Then maybe don't give them a reason." "You think this is funny?" my dad asked. "No, but it's honest." He looked ready to explode. My mom stepped in before he could. "We are your parents," she said, voice rising. "We deserve some respect." "Respect," I echoed. "Like the respect you showed me this morning, or last year, or the year I turned 16 and you canceled my birthday dinner because Sienna had a stomachache." Her mouth opened, then closed. "You've made it abundantly clear who comes first, every time, and I'm tired of pretending I don't see it." My mother's eyes narrowed. "So this is what this is about. You're trying to replace us with them." She nodded toward Riley, toward Ellen and Dana, just beyond the kitchen light. I didn't flinch. "No, you've been replacing me for years." I just finally stopped pretending I didn't notice. For a moment, the room held its breath. Then my mother's voice dropped soft and sharp. "You're going to regret this." I met her eyes. "That's what you said the last time you forgot." The silence after my last sentence was thick, almost physical. No one moved. My mother's lips parted, but nothing came out. My father's jaw worked like he was grinding his teeth. Then she recovered, smooth, practiced. She took one step forward, folding her arms across her chest in a way that looked maternal, but wasn't. Karen Dean knew how to posture authority without raising her voice. That was always her talent. "You don't realize what you're throwing away," she said quietly. I raised an eyebrow. "Enlighten me." Her eyes flicked toward the others in the room. "This is not the place." "Sure it is," I replied. "You showed up here, remember?" She held my gaze for a beat longer than expected, then smiled a tight, calculated curve. "Your father and I had plans for you," she said, "and if you keep acting like this, don't expect to be included when it comes to the house, or the accounts, the lake property. There it was. The inheritance. Like it was supposed to break me." John Dean finally spoke again, voice low. "You're walking away from everything we've built." I laughed, quiet, almost involuntary. It slipped out of me like air after holding my breath too long. "You built something," I said. "Just not for me." "Don't be ridiculous," he snapped. I turned toward him fully. "No, I'm being honest. You two built your perfect family around Sienna, and I was just background. Reliable when needed. Invisible when inconvenient." "That's not fair," my mom said sharply. "What part isn't?" I asked. "That I was never your priority, or that I finally stopped pretending it didn't hurt?" She stepped closer. "Mallory, don't do this. You'll regret it. Money isn't everything, but you'll need it one day." I nodded slowly. "You're right. Money isn't everything." Then I smiled. "But peace is." I stepped back slightly, not out of fear, but to make space for what needed to be said. "You think you're holding something over me?" But you've got it backwards. I don't want what comes with your strings, your house, your accounts, your legacy. They've never had room for me." Karen looked stunned. My dad looked like he didn't know whether to yell or leave. And then I added softer. "The people who celebrated me tonight didn't offer me a dime, just a seat at the table." From the kitchen, Ellen's voice floated in. "And that seat is always yours." My mother turned sharply toward the sound eyes narrowing. "You think these people can replace your family?" I met her eyes one last time. "No, they didn't replace you. You gave up your place. I just stopped waiting for you to take it back." My mother stood still for a moment like she couldn't decide whether to lash out or back away. Then her voice shifted. The edge softened. It almost sounded like regret, but I knew better. Karen Dean didn't apologize. She recalibrated. "You think we don't love you?" she said, quieter now. "After everything we've done, I didn't answer right away." I let the weight of that question settle between us. Behind me, I felt Riley take a slow breath. Not loud, but I noticed. So did my mother. Her eyes landed on where Riley stood close to me, steady, not backing away. That's when it changed. Karen's expression shifted again, tightened at the edges. "So this is what this is about," she said, her voice now bitter. "You're letting them turn you against us." She gestured vaguely toward Riley, toward Ellen and Dana still standing quietly at the kitchen entrance like the calm before a storm. "You're trying to replace your family with strangers." That word strangers hung in the air. I took a breath. "No, I'm not replacing anyone. You just stopped showing up and someone else did." My father, still rigid beside her, muttered something under his breath. Probably the same thing he always thought, but never had the guts to say out loud. My mother stepped forward again. "I am your mother," she said, her voice rising but not shaking. "You will never get rid of me. We are blood, Mallory. You don't just erase that." I looked at her not angrily, not even sadly. Just clearly. "I don't need to get rid of you," I said. "You already erased yourself." She flinched. It was quick but real. For once, her face cracked. "You pushed me out long before I ever walked away. Year after year, you made it clear where I stood. I begged for crumbs of your attention, and when I stopped begging, you got angry." She didn't speak. Maybe couldn't. "You always had a favorite," I continued. "You made sure I knew it. I was the one who didn't ask for much, so I became the one who got nothing. That wasn't love. That was convenience." My dad finally stepped forward. His voice was flat. "You're being dramatic." I turned toward him. "No, I'm finally being honest." That was the moment it shifted. For the first time, I watched them realize they no longer had control. No threats, no guilt, no family dinners held over my head could reel me back in. I saw it in their faces, not just anger, but something else. Loss, not of a daughter, of power. Dana stepped forward, quiet but firm. "I think it's time for you both to go." Karen looked at her like she'd been slapped, but she didn't argue. John said nothing, just turned and walked toward the door, stiff and small. They left without another word. The door shut behind them with a soft, final click. And I stood there, still breathing, still whole. For a few seconds after the door shut, no one spoke. The quiet wasn't awkward. It was earned. I stood there, still facing the entryway, breathing in the kind of silence that didn't feel empty. It felt like space, like peace. Riley came up beside me first, her hand brushing mine. "You okay?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." Behind us, Ellen and Dana moved back into the room. Dana handed me a glass of water without saying a word. Ellen just gave me a look, the kind that didn't need translation. It said, "You did what needed to be done." And I had. For the first time, I hadn't backed down. I hadn't begged. I hadn't tried to make them comfortable at my expense. I'd told the truth. And I let it be uncomfortable. Riley led me back to the couch. We sat there for a while, shoulder to shoulder. No one filled the silence because no one had to. That was the difference between love and obligation. Love waits with you. Obligation watches the clock. "I kept thinking it would feel worse," I said finally. Dana smiled from across the room. That's because you're not losing anything. You're just setting it down. I took another sip of water and looked around. The candles on the dining table had burned halfway down. The card with my name was still there, gold ink soft in the glow. It hadn't been a party. It had been better. They hadn't sung. They hadn't brought gifts. But they'd remembered me. And they'd stayed. It was almost midnight when my phone buzzed again. I glanced down without urgency, half expecting one last voicemail from my dad. But it wasn't him. It was Sienna. Sienna, Mom, and Dad are livid. You really messed up this time. There was no happy birthday. No, are you okay? Just that. A warning. Or maybe a flex. Like she was watching it all from the front row, popcorn in hand, still untouched by the mess she helped make. Riley leaned in. "Who is it?" I turned the screen toward her. She read the message, then handed it back with a quiet, "Of course." I stared at it for a while, thumb hovering over the keyboard. For a moment, I imagined writing something back, calling Sienna out for every time she took center stage while I faded into the background. I wanted to ask if she even remembered my birthday had been today, or if she had just enjoyed being the reason no one else did. But the longer I looked, the more I realized something simple. I didn't need to explain myself anymore. She'd known, and she'd let it happen. That was enough. I put the phone down without replying. Instead, I picked up another device. Ellen's old baking book still sat on the sideboard from earlier lemon cookies, bookmarked with a yellow sticky note. I stood and walked into the kitchen. "I think I'm going to start a tradition," I said. "Cookies at midnight, something simple but mine." Ellen turned from the sink. "Want help?" I smiled. "No, but maybe just company." She dried her hands and took a seat at the kitchen table. "I think I've got that covered." As the oven warmed and the dough came together under my hands, I thought of all the birthdays that had passed without cake, without kindness, and how this one, the quietest of them all, had become the loudest in truth. Not because they remembered me, but because I remembered myself. The cookies were cooling on a tray when Riley joined me in the kitchen, her sweatshirt sleeves pulled over her hands. "Midnight cookies, huh?" she said, stealing one while it was still warm. "They're not perfect," I replied, watching the edges crumble in her fingers. "They don't have to be," she said. "Neither do you." We sat in the quiet hum of the kitchen, me, Riley, Ellen reading at the far end of the table, Dana somewhere in the living room. The kind of silence that never existed in my old house. There, even the quiet carried sharp edges. I thought of all the cards my parents gave me over the years, unsigned, generic, bought last minute at gas stations. I'd kept a few. I didn't know why. Tonight, I took one out, the last one I'd received, a pale pink thing with a gold border and no message inside. I folded it once, then again, dropped it in the trash without a word. "Going somewhere?" Riley asked, gently watching me grab my coat. "Yeah," I said. "We're getting drinks." She stood falling into step beside me without question. "For your birthday?" "No," I said, smiling faintly. "For my peace." As we stepped outside into the cool night air, I didn't feel the weight I usually carried on days like this. No guilt, no tightness in my chest, just breath, just movement. I wasn't walking away because I wanted to be loved. I was walking away because I was done pretending. If they only remembered you when others were watching, just leave a dot. You don't need to explain.
The evening sun casts long shadows across our family photos. I trace my finger along the silver frame holding Mom and Dad's 50th anniversary picture, remembering how Dad twirled Mom across our backyard while Frank Sinatra played. My structural engineer's eye catches the slight tilt of the frame, and I adjust it with precision born from years of ensuring everything stands exactly as it should. Movement in the kitchen doorway catches my attention. Derek leans against the frame, his insurance executive suit still crisp after a long day. Something in his eyes makes my skin prickle. He watches me the way he examines property assessments, calculating value, measuring worth. "Just tidying up?" His voice carries the smooth confidence that charmed my parents 2 years ago at our wedding. "Making sure everything's in its place." I turn back to the photos, but the hair on my neck stands up. Our kitchen feels different lately. The warm golden walls Dad helped me paint last summer might as well be steel gray. Through the window, I spot my parents in their garden behind their ADU. Dad kneels in the dirt, showing Mom the tomatoes he's grown from seeds. They saved those seeds from last season's crop, just like they saved every penny after losing everything in 2012. Just like they trusted me with their life savings for the down payment on this house. I left some paperwork on my desk for you to review, Derek mentions casually. Insurance stuff, nothing urgent. The folders on his mahogany desk look deliberately placed, too neat to be accidental. My fingers still as I lift the top one. Inside, fresh ink marks the beneficiary line on his life insurance policy, Michelle Morgan, his sister. The same sister who keeps calling when she thinks I'm not home. I thought we agreed to name each other. My voice stays steady while my heart pounds against my ribs. That's what you insisted when you had me change mine last month. Oh, that. He waves his hand, dismissing $300,000 like pocket change. Michelle handles all my financial planning. Makes more sense to keep it simple. Simple, like the way he simplified my parents' role from family to temporary residence in conversations with his realtor friends. Like his casual suggestions about retirement communities that would suit them better. I close the folder with deliberate care, sliding it back exactly where he left it. The memories surface like bubbles in still water. 2012, watching my parents stand shell, shocked in front of their foreclosed home. The predatory lender's smile looked just like Derek's does now, practiced, professional, empty of everything except opportunity. My engineering salary bought this house. My parents contributed half their remaining savings, $180,000, toward the down payment and the ADU construction. We sealed the deal with hugs and happy tears, not notaries. You hold the title, sweetheart, Dad said that day. We trust you. Dad's voice drifts through the window now, teaching Mom the names of the herbs she's planting. The same steady voice that helped me build my first treehouse, checked my math homework, whispered, "We'll start over," when they lost everything. I built this house on promises, not the kind written on paper, but the kind etched in your heart. The wedding video sits on the shelf beside me. Derek's charm radiates from the screen, the perfect son-in-law, raising his glass to family first. Mom cried happy tears that day. Dad's hand shook when he walked me down the aisle. The changes came slowly, like hairline cracks in a foundation. Your parents might be happier in a community with people their age, Derek would say, counting the cars that passed our house. His phone calls with Michelle grew longer, quieter. He started asking about property values, about market trends, about maximizing our investment. Last week, I woke at midnight to find his side of the bed empty. The light from his office drew me like a moth. Through the crack in the door, I watched him photograph our property documents, page by page. His fingers moved with the precision of someone dismantling a bomb or setting one. The sun sinks lower now, painting the kitchen in amber light. Derek's hand settles on my shoulder, heavy as concrete. Have you ever thought about what would happen to this place if something happened to you? His thumb traces circles on my collarbone. God forbid, of course, but we should be prepared. My mouth tastes like copper. What do you mean? Well, if something happened, the house would go to me. I'd take care of your parents, of course. His voice sounds reasonable, practiced. They'd be fine. I turned to face him, my engineer's mind already calculating load-bearing points and stress fractures. And if they don't want you to control it? The silence stretches between us like a plastic wire about to snap. Derek's smile doesn't reach his eyes. I know then, with the certainty I used to measure building foundations, that he wasn't planning for loss, he was planning for ownership. You're right, I say, keeping my voice light. We should be prepared. He kisses my forehead, pleased with my apparent agreement. I watch him walk away, his shoulders relaxed, victorious. Through the window, Mom waves at me from their garden. Dad holds up a ripe tomato like a trophy. I pick up my phone and scroll to Sarah's number, me college roommate, now a property lawyer. My fingers hover over the keypad. Some battles are fought with raised voices and slammed doors. But this one will be won with quiet signatures and ironclad clauses. I press call. The next day, my office cubicle shrinks around me as I stare at property tax records without seeing them. The memory of Dad's voice breaks through, clear as the day we packed their foreclosed home in 2012. It wasn't just the house, Elena. His weathered hands had trembled while wrapping Mom's china. It was watching that banker smile while he took our dignity. Sarah's text jolts me back. Meet me at Pietro's. Urgent. Half an hour later, the red vinyl booth at Pietro's squeaks as Sarah Williams slides in. Her power suit can't hide the worry in her eyes. We shared a dorm room through 4 years of college, she in pre-law while I drafted engineering problems past midnight. Now she specializes in property law, and I need every bit of that expertise. Tell me everything, she says, waving off the waiter. The words spill out. Derek's insurance policy change, the midnight photography session, his careful suggestions about my parents' more suitable living arrangements. Each detail lands like a stone between us. Sarah's knuckles whiten around her water glass. That son of a... She catches herself, lawyer mode engaging. We need to protect your parents without tipping him off. Let me think. While she scribbles notes, I watch an elderly couple at the next table sharing a plate of spaghetti. The woman feeds her husband, his hands too shaky to manage the fork. My chest tightens. Here's what we do. Sarah's voice drops lower. We create an ironclad trust that looks like it gives Derek what he wants while actually protecting your parents. He'll think he's winning until he hits the titanium wall of legal protection we're going to build. My engineering mind clicks into gear, like building a steel frame inside a brick facade. Exactly. We're going to make this house more secure than any foundation you've ever designed. Back home, I wait until Derek leaves for his business dinner before opening his laptop. He forgot to log out of his email again, careless, now that he thinks he's winning. My hands shake as I document everything. Browser histories full of searches for challenging life estates and contesting property rights. A hidden folder labeled PM holds photos of my parents' ADU. Property boundaries marked in red. Emails between Derek and Michelle discussing investment potential, and once Elena signs. The last email stops my breath. Once the old folks are cleared out, we can triple our investment. That neighborhood's going upscale fast. Cleared out. Like my parents are inventory to be liquidated. I copy everything to a secure drive, my fingers steady now. This isn't just about my house anymore. This is about erasing my parents from the equation of their own lives. The next morning, I casually mention to Derek that I'm thinking of adding my parents' names to the deed. The change in his face happens too fast to hide a flash of rage before the smooth mask returns. That's not what we discussed. His voice stays carefully level. It complicates things. Does it? I keep my tone light, curious. Let me handle the estate planning. He reaches for my hand across the kitchen counter. It's what I do for a living. Besides, your parents are just temporary residents here. We need to think long-term. Temporary residents. Not family. Not the people who helped build this home. My skin crawls where he touches me, but I force a smile. You're right. You know best. That night, Dad finds me in the garden, pulling weeds with too much force. Something's wrong. He settles onto the stone bench Mom loves. Talk to me, sweetheart. I want to tell him everything. Want to warn them about Derek's plans, Michelle's scheming, the trap being built around our home. Instead, I pat soil around a new tomato plant. Just work stress, Dad. His eyes hold mine too long. The same eyes that watched our first home vanish into the banker's portfolio. You know, your mother and we've been through enough to recognize when someone's trying to protect us from bad news. My throat closes. If I start talking, I might never stop. He squeezes my shoulder, calloused fingers gentle as the day he taught me to hold a hammer. Whatever it is, we're stronger together. You taught us that in 2012. Sarah's office feels like a fortress the next morning. Law books line the walls and her desk gleams like polished armor. Derek settles into the client chair, his confidence filling the room. He doesn't notice how Sarah's assistant positions herself to record every word. Let's review the trust terms. Sarah's voice carries the same precision she used in mock trials. Elena has agreed to several of your suggestions, with a few small additions. Derek's smile widens. I study my hands while Sarah reads through the standard provisions. Only when she reaches the final pages does his expression shift. Section 7 establishes irrevocable lifetime residence rights for Frank and Marlene Kovacs in the ADU property. Sarah's tone could freeze Mercury. Section 8 stipulates that 70% of any profits from sale within 10 years will be held in trust for their care. The color drains from Derek's face. That's not. And of course, Sarah continues, Section 9 requires written consent from both Frank and Marlene for any modifications to these terms. Silence fills the room like concrete setting. Derek's hands curl into fists, then deliberately relax. This isn't what we discussed. His voice scrapes like gravel. No, I signed my name with Mom's favorite pen, the one Dad gave her on their 40th anniversary. It's what we should have discussed from the beginning. Derek stands, straightening his tie. I'll need to review this with my own attorney. Of course. Sarah hands him his copy. Take all the time you need. He leaves without looking at me. The door closes with a soft click that echoes like a vault ceiling. Sarah pours 2 fingers of bourbon into crystal glasses. I've never seen someone's soul leak out of their face quite like that. I accept the glass, but don't drink. Think he'll fight it? Let him try. She clinks her glass against mine. That trust is stronger than the foundations you build. Sometimes the best revenge is perfect paperwork. Out the window, autumn sunlight gilds the Portland skyline. Somewhere across town, Derek is discovering that his investment opportunity just turned into a fortress with my family safe inside. My hands finally stop shaking. The dining room chandelier casts shadows across our wedding china. Derek sits at the head of the table, cutting his steak with precise movements while my parents try to fill the silence with gentle conversation about their tomato harvest. We'll have enough to share with the neighbors this year, Mom says, her fork hovering above her untouched salad. Her eyes keep darting between Derek and me, sensing the tension crackling beneath our practiced smiles. How generous. Derek's voice carries that new edge, the one that appeared after I refused to consider selling the house. He pushes his green beans into a perfect line. Though I wonder if a retirement community wouldn't offer more social opportunities than gardening. Dad's knife scrapes against his plate. Mom's hand trembles as she reaches for her water glass. I fold my napkin smaller and smaller until it's a hard square in my lap. The weight of pretense presses against my chest, making each breath an effort. 2 months of watching Derek, documenting his calls, protecting my parents from the truth its carved hollows beneath my eyes that even concealer can't hide. The garden keeps us active, Dad says. His voice holds 30 years of management experience, steady despite Derek's implications. Marlene's arthritis has improved since we started spending more time outside. Derek's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Physical therapy programs at Sunshine Valley are excellent. I could arrange a tour. The phone in my pocket vibrates. A text from Janet at the bank, marked urgent. I excuse myself, legs unsteady as I walk to the kitchen. Elena, Derek was here today. Asked about investment options using your property as collateral. Call me. The granite counter catches me as my knees buckle. Through the kitchen window, I see Mom and Dad's ADU, the warm yellow walls Dad picked because they reminded him of their first home, the home they lost. My hands shake as I dial Janet's number, turning on the faucet to mask my voice. He wanted to know about equity requirements, Janet whispers. Asked if both owners needed to sign. Elena, he had documentation I've never seen before. Ice spreads through my chest. Derek's late meetings stretch like shadows in my mind. Thank you, I manage. I need to go. Later that night, I wait until I hear Derek's car leave for his evening client consultation before slipping into his office. The mahogany desk gleams in the low light, meticulously organized. Too organized. The bottom drawer sticks, then yields to my trembling fingers. Beneath tax records and insurance policies, a manila folder catches against the wood. My heart pounds as I ease it free. Loan application drafts, investment proposals, property assessments dated 3 months ago. A text chain between Derek and Michelle fills my phone screen. D. Elena's too attached to the old folks. Need to move faster. Me. The market's hot. Once we get the parent situation resolved, We can flip it within 6 months. D. Working on power of attorney angle. Will update after meeting. The texts blur as tears fill my eyes. Dad's voice drifts through the window, humming the Hungarian lullaby he sang when I was small, when monsters lived under beds instead of across them. My fingers find Sarah's number without looking. I need you to come over, now. An hour later, I sit at my parents' kitchen table, the loan documents spread between us like a map of betrayal. Mom's fingers grip her coffee mug, knuckles white. Dad stands at the window, shoulders rigid as he stares into the darkness. Sarah organizes the files and talks with her team on the phone. He wants everything, I whisper. The house, the Dale, your security. My voice breaks. Oh, sweetheart. Mom reaches across the table, her hand warm against mine. We've survived worse than a man who mistakes family for finance. Dad turns from the window. In the soft kitchen light, I see the steel that carried him through revolution in Hungary, through starting over in America, through losing everything in 2012. You are not alone, Elena. He pulls an envelope from his jacket pocket, hands shaking slightly as he sets it on the table. After last time, I kept something aside, just in case history tried to repeat itself. Inside, bank statements show an account I never knew existed, enough to fight back. Some battles need raised voices, Dad says, his accent stronger with emotion. This one needs perfect paperwork. Mom squeezes my hand. We built this home together. We'll protect it together. I close my eyes, feeling the strength of 3 generations flow between our joined hands. When I open them, my vision is clear. My hands are steady. First step, I say, pulling my laptop closer. We lock down the accounts. Dad nods, already reaching for his phone. I'll call Frank at the credit union. And I'll start documenting everything, Mom adds, her teacher's organization skills surfacing. My fingers fly across the keyboard, accessing our joint accounts. With each transfer to my new private account, each password change, each fraud alert placed, I feel Derek's grip loosening. A notification pops up on my phone, Derek, asking about an access denied message from our savings account. I silence the phone, focusing on the task at hand. In the corner, Mom methodically photographs Derek's hidden documents, while Dad makes quiet calls to old friends in banking. The kitchen clock ticks past midnight as we work, 4 people bound by blood and trust, dismantling the elaborate trap Derek laid. Outside, the moon illuminates Mom and Dad's garden, the tomato plants they grew from saved seeds standing tall against the trellis. Some things can't be bought. Some things can't be sold. Some things must be protected with the same quiet determination it takes to grow life from tiny seeds. I hear Derek's car in the driveway. Dad squeezes my shoulder as Mom quickly gathers the documents with Sarah. They slip out the back door to their ADU while I clear my browser history and close the laptop. The front door opens. Derek's footsteps move through the house, confident, measuring, unaware that his carefully constructed plan is already crumbling. I touch the small USB drive in my pocket, containing copies of everything we found. Tomorrow, I'll meet with the divorce attorney Sarah recommended. But tonight, I'll sleep knowing that what matters most is safe. My parents, our home, our future. The seeds of security we planted together, growing stronger in the dark. The next morning, the stack of papers lands on my desk with a sharp slap. Derek looms over me, his insurance executive polish cracking around the edges. Financial irregularities? His voice carries the precise tone he uses when explaining policy exclusions to clients. Want to tell me why our accounts don't match my records? I look up from the architectural plans I've been reviewing, letting the silence stretch. Through the window behind him, I watch Dad watering his tomatoes. The ones he grew from seeds, just like the dreams he rebuilt after 2012. I've noticed some irregularities myself. My fingers trace the edge of my draft paper, muscle memory from years of measuring support beams. Like why my name disappeared from our joint savings last month. The trust. His hands press flat against my desk. You changed it without consulting me. I protected what was already protected. The words come out steady, calibrated. Nothing more. Protected? A laugh scrapes out of his throat. From who? Your husband? From anyone who sees dollar signs instead of family. His mask slips then, revealing the calculator behind the charm. The fluorescent office lights catch his teeth as he smiles. Your parents won't always be here, Elena. We need to think about our future. The latest structural analysis report sits half-finished on my computer screen. Numbers don't lie. They reveal weak points, stress fractures, places where foundations can fail. Just like Derek's smile. That's exactly what I've done. I open my desk drawer and remove a manila envelope. Secured our futures, separately. The divorce papers slide across my desk like a bridge being drawn. Derek stares at them, then at me, then back at the papers. His fingers twitch but don't touch them. You can't be serious. The polished veneer cracks further. After everything we've built? You mean after everything you plan to take? His phone buzzes. Michelle's name flashes on the screen. His sister, the one he made sole beneficiary of his life insurance while insisting I name only him on mine. The one who keeps calling about investment opportunities in our neighborhood. Derek steps back, already reaching for his phone. I need to call my attorney. Go ahead. I turn back to my blueprints. The trust is ironclad. 20 minutes later, Michelle storms in, her real estate agent smile stretched thin across her face. Where's my brother? She demands. Making a very disappointing phone call. I don't look up from my work. His attorney is explaining some basic property law to him. The click of her heels strikes a sharp rhythm as she marches toward my parents' garden door. I rise, but Dad's already there, standing straight despite his arthritis. This home, he says quietly, was built with our retirement, not your ambition. Mom appears beside him, her gardening gloves still on. Without a word, she opens the door wider, a clear invitation for Michelle to leave. The silence carries more dignity than any shout. Michelle's heel catches in the grass as she storms out. Mrs. Peterson next door pauses in her pruning to watch. Mr. Thompson stops walking his golden retriever. The neighborhood bears witness, and Michelle feels it. Her steps quicken toward her car. Derek tries one last angle that evening. I find him in his home office, surrounded by printouts of property laws. The marriage gives me rights, he insists. Community property. Doesn't apply to premarital assets. Sarah's voice comes smooth and clear through my phone speaker. The house was purchased before the marriage, with documented sole ownership and a family trust in place. Your claim has no legal standing. I watched the last of his confidence crumble. The man who charmed my parents at backyard barbecues, who raised toasts to family first, who spoke about building a legacy together, he never really existed. The next week passes in a blur of subtle support. Linda from accounting brings me coffee without asking. My project team conveniently schedules late meetings when Derek might be stopping by. Dad's friends from the VFW post drive by regularly, their veteran bumper stickers catching the sun. Mom's sister Janet arrives with 3 suitcases and her famous pierogi recipe. Just thought I'd stay a while, she announces, settling into the guest room that overlooks the front yard. Her presence fills empty spaces I hadn't noticed growing. Derek moves out on a Tuesday. Temporarily, he says, sliding his keys across the kitchen counter. Just until you've had space to reconsider. The texts from Michelle start immediately. Investment opportunities, market analyses, property values, each one more desperate than the last. I change the security codes that night, install cameras the next day. The house creaks and settles, adjusting to the absence of secrets. That night, I sleep without waking to check his side of the bed, without straining to hear his midnight phone calls, without wondering what else he's planning while I rest. Just a small dinner. Mom suggests the next evening. Nothing fancy, because we're still here. We gather around the dining room table, the one Derek always dominated with his business papers and investment reports. Dad says grace. Mom passes her garden tomatoes. Janet tells stories about Mom's childhood mishaps until we're all laughing. The table that was Derek's command center now holds the simple abundance of family sharing a meal. Outside, the porch light illuminates empty spaces where Derek's car used to park, where his ambitions used to cast shadows. Those spaces don't feel empty anymore. They feel clean, like fresh concrete ready for a new foundation. A week later, the doorbell chimes through the house, its once cheerful tone now a warning. Derek stands on our front porch, clutching a bouquet of pink roses, Mom's favorite flowers. The same ones he brought the day he asked for my hand in marriage. Elena. His voice carries that smooth insurance executive polish. Can we talk? I step aside to let him in, my fingers pressed against the solid oak door frame. The late afternoon sun catches his platinum wedding band, still gleaming on his left hand. Mine sits in the top drawer of my bedside table, next to the trust documents Sarah helped me draft. Derek places the roses on our entryway table, his movements deliberate. I've been thinking about everything, about us. He reaches for my hand. I slide it into my pocket. We built this life together. Are you really ready to throw it all away? A cardinal lands on the bird feeder outside our kitchen window, the one Dad built last spring. Its red feathers flash like a stop sign against the weathered cedar. What life would that be, Derek? My voice stays level, the way it does when I present structural assessments to city planning boards. The one where you plan to sell my parents' home out from under them? That's not. He runs his fingers through his hair, mussing his perfect styling. Look, we could start fresh, sell this place, build something just for us. Something without all this baggage. The word hangs between us like poison. 2 years of marriage, and I never noticed how his smile never quite reached his eyes. My parents aren't baggage. The evening sun warms my back through the window. They're family. They've had their lives, Elena. His mask slips, frustration bleeding through. It's our turn now. Why can't you see that? The truth settles in my chest, heavy as concrete. This conversation tells me everything I need to know. The divorce proceedings drag through summer into fall, each delay calculated to wear me down. Derek's attorney throws legal terms around like confetti community, property, spousal rights, equitable distribution, but Sarah stays steady, presenting my documentation with surgical precision. The judge peers over his reading glasses during Derek's sister's deposition. Miss Morgan, could you explain these text messages about getting rid of the in-laws? Michelle's perfectly manicured fingers twist in her lap. Her story crumbles under oath, each contradiction another nail in Derek's coffin. The ruling comes down on a Tuesday. I sit in the courtroom's hard wooden bench, spine straight as the T-square on my desk at work. Derek slumps beside his attorney as the judge upholds the trust, my premarital assets protected by Sarah's ironclad paperwork. The defendant's claim to the property is hereby denied. Derek's shoulders stiffen. 2 rows behind me, I hear Mom's quiet exhale. The financial unraveling reveals Derek's true plans. Credit card statements show debt I never knew about, tens of thousands accrued in anticipation of tapping our home equity. His sister Michelle stops returning his calls once their investment scheme dies. She blocks my number, but not before texting. You could have been set for life. My parents insist on helping with the legal fees. Dad pulls out his checkbook at our kitchen table, the same one where we used to share Sunday dinners. We've got savings, he says, pen hovering over paper. Let us help you rebuild. I cover his weathered hand with mine. You've already given me the most valuable thing, the lesson to protect what matters. Derek makes one final attempt 2 days after the divorce finalizes. He catches me in the driveway as I'm unloading groceries. You have to understand. Desperation cracks his polished veneer. I saw an opportunity. Anyone would have taken it. The October wind whips fallen leaves around our feet. Through the kitchen window, I see Mom showing her sister how to can tomatoes from Dad's garden. That's where you're wrong. I shut my car door, the sound sharp as a gavel. Family isn't an opportunity. It's a responsibility. Some things aren't for sale. Dad's voice carries from the front porch. He stands in the doorway, one hand resting on the frame I watched him rebuild last spring. Dignity is one of them. Derek's Mercedes purrs to life, carrying him out of our lives. I watch until his taillights disappear around the corner, feeling nothing but the solid ground beneath my feet and the warmth of home at my back. Mom appears beside me, her arm slipping around my waist. The sauce is almost ready, she says. Your father's sister is coming for dinner. I follow her inside, where the kitchen glows gold with sunset light. The roses Derek brought wilt forgotten on the entryway table. Tomorrow, I'll plant Mom's favorite peonies in their place. They'll bloom next spring, their roots growing deeper with each passing season. Through the window, I watch Dad in his workshop, teaching the neighbor's kid how to sand wood grain. The low murmur of their voices mingles with the smell of Mom's paprika chicken, the recipe she brought from Hungary all those years ago. I open my laptop to finish the last email to Sarah. The words flow easily now. Thank you for helping me protect what matters. Some foundations can't be measured with a calculator. The cardinal returns to Dad's bird feeder, its red feathers bright against the gathering dusk. This time, it stays. 6 months later, the scent of basil and oregano drifts through the evening air as Frank kneels in the rich soil, his weathered hands placing each seedling with careful precision. Around us, laughter mingles with the clink of wine glasses. Our backyard hums with the warmth of neighbors who became guardians during those dark months, who watched our house when I couldn't sleep, who brought casseroles and quiet support. Mrs. Rodriguez, you have to try these deviled eggs, Marlene calls from the patio table. She's arranged them on the blue ceramic platter I remember from childhood Sunday dinners. My mother glows tonight, her silver hair catching the light from the string lights we wove through the maple trees. She passes the platter with both hands, the way she taught me to serve others with intention, with care. The secret's in the paprika, she winks at our neighbor. Hungarian, of course. I lean against the deck railing, watching Dad demonstrate his birdhouse building techniques to Tommy and Sarah, the children from next door. His hands move with the same certainty they had when he taught me to measure twice, cut once. The kids lean forward, entranced by the way he explains each step, just as I once did. See this joint here? He points with his carpenter's pencil. This is what we call a mortise and tenon. Your great-grandfathers would have used this same technique. The kids' eyes widen. In their faces, I see the same wonder I felt in his workshop years ago. My father's knowledge flows from his hands to theirs, a legacy more precious than any deed or title. Where Derek once planned a concrete pad for extra parking, wildflowers now stretch toward the setting sun. Purple coneflowers bob their heads in the breeze, and black-eyed Susans reach through the fence pickets. Life pushes through every crack in his careful plans, persistent as truth. A real laugh bubbles up from my chest, surprising me with its freedom. 6 months ago, I couldn't remember the sound of my own joy. Now it spills out as natural as breathing while I watch Dad balance Tommy on his knee, showing him how to sand the wood just so. More lemonade? Mrs. Peterson touches my elbow, her arthritis, curved fingers steady on the glass pitcher. I added extra mint, the way you like it. My smile reaches my eyes. You remembered. We remember everything, she says softly. Her gaze holds mine, including who belongs here. Under the string lights, I've set the patio table for a smaller gathering later. The folder rests in my tote bag, its weight both anchor and wings. Inside, the papers speak of trusts and protections, legal words that translate to love. Mom and Dad settle into their favorite chairs as twilight paints the sky in watercolors. They don't know what's coming. Dad picks up his sweet tea, ice cubes clinking against the glass. Mom smooths her napkin, a habit from 50 years of shared meals. I lift the folder from my bag, feeling its weight, not a burden now, but a gift. I have something for you both. Their eyes meet mine as I slide the documents across the table. Mom's fingers trace the edge of the papers. Dad's reading glasses appear from his shirt pocket. Elena? Mom's voice carries a question. Read it, I whisper, please. The silence stretches like honey as they lean together, heads bent over the pages. Dad's breath catches. Mom's hand flies to her throat. A family trust? Dad's voice breaks on the words. The house, the ADU. It's official now, I say. On paper, the way it's always been in our hearts. This has always been your home. Now no one can ever change that. For the first time in my life, my father has no words. His eyes shine in the gathering dark. Mom's tears spill silent and bright as the stars appearing overhead. We reach for each other across the table, 3 pairs of hands linking like the clauses in the trust, like the roots of the flowers we planted together. No words pass between us. None need to. Later, after they've gone to bed, I sit in the garden with my journal. The lantern casts a gentle circle of light on the blank page. Around me, the night whispers of belonging, of bridges rebuilt, of foundations that go deeper than concrete and steel. My pen moves across the paper, strong and sure. When someone asks you to give up your roots in exchange for vague promises, they don't deserve your past or your future. Home isn't just where you live. It's where you're protected. Sometimes, that protection comes through difficult choices. The screen door of the ADU squeaks softly. Through their window, I see Mom adjusting Dad's blanket, the way she has for 40 years. The sight fills my chest with something bigger than happiness, certainty, perhaps. Or peace. I close my journal, gathering the lantern's light close. Tomorrow, I'll help a young colleague protect her grandmother's cottage from a predatory developer. Next week, Dad starts his senior center workshops on financial security. Mom's already planning to share her story at the legal aid clinic. Some people call it paying it forward. We know better. It's building a foundation strong enough to shelter generations. One signature, one story, one protected home at a time.